Hola, ¿cómo estás? Now, how many of you have seen one of those commercials? And they're not as frequent anymore, at least not where I am, where it said at the end of the commercial, Se habla español. Or maybe you saw a sign that said the same thing, Se habla español. And maybe you put it together enough to know that it may have said, Spanish is spoken here. Spanish is spoken here. So here we're not necessarily saying they speak Spanish here or we speak Spanish here. We're being a little passive, right? We have a little passive voice here. And in Spanish, the passive voice can be carried out through a little word called se. Se habla español. Se prohíbe fumar. Se permite nadar. Spanish is spoken here. It's prohibited to smoke. Swimming is allowed. So here I'm using say to be a little bit more passive. And this is how I would do that. So let me go to the example of se prohíbe fumar. Smoking is prohibited. A lot of times I want to start out with the word say, S-A-E. And then my verb is typically going to be conjugated in the third person singular. In this case, we have prohibir, prohíbe. And then whatever it is that is prohibited or spoken, whatever it is. Fumar. In this case, I have a verb, so I'm using that verb as sort of a noun here, so I'm going to keep that verb in the infinitive. Se prohíbe fumar. Smoking is prohibited here. Let's go back to se habla español. Se habla español. Now, español here is a noun, right? It's a thing. It's a language in this specifically. And it's one thing, right? Se habla español. But what if we were talking about more than one language being spoken? So let's see what that looks like. Se hablan español, francés, portugués, italiano, y alemán. Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian, and German are spoken here. You might have noticed that I used hablan. So if I'm using the passive say in this context with more than one thing, I'm going to pluralize it. I'm going to use the third person plural. So that means I'm going to have an N at the end of that verb. Let's go back to a tobacco example. Let's use cigarrillos, cigarettes. No se venden cigarrillos. Cigarettes aren't sold here. Vender being our verb to sell. There, since I'm talking about more than one cigarette, I have to pluralize the verb vender with the third person plural. But let's talk about a single product here. No se vende Tabaco. Tobacco isn't sold here. So tobacco is a singular item. It's a singular noun. So I have to make sure I use the third person singular form of vender here. And of course I have se presented in front of that verb. And that's about all there is to it to the impersonal se. There's another situation in which you can use this. How many times has something dropped on you? Or it just dropped? It broke, got lost, something like that. But you have to explain it to your friend or family member because it was theirs. And now you have a decision to make. Se me rompió el PlayStation. You say to your brother or your closest friend who let you borrow anything until now. The PlayStation broke on me, bro. So the passive say can be used here to kind of drop responsibility off of the person who broke that particular object, right? We do it all the time in English. The car broke down on me, even though you hadn't had an oil change in 6 years. It broke down on you. You didn't break it down. It broke down on you. So that's sort of the same sentiment you get with the passive say here. So let me show you how this works. Let's talk about that PlayStation example. Se me rompió el PlayStation. So you're going to put the se first. And then whoever it broke on, whether it was myself, right, me, or us, nos, or them, or him, le, or you, te. And then your verb's going to be conjugated either in the third person singular, if it's one thing that got lost or broken or cracked or dropped on you. Or it's going to be the third person plural if more than one thing fell on you or dropped on you. So that's say constructions for you, and that's about all I have for you. Adios.